Morale is at an all-time high. What is up, everyone? Nico Lind here, and it is bright and early in the morning. It's about 6:30 a.m. right now. It's a Wednesday, and we're crossing to the Bahamas today. I just closed on this SEAVEE for a client yesterday. Woo, beautiful 34B. Absolutely gorgeous boat, and the owner wants it over in the Bahamas because he's over there right now. So a good buddy of mine, actually the Flanagan's family, if y'all have ever been to the restaurant Flanagan's, they're out crossing today as well, and so I'm gonna follow them. It's fixing to be a really rough crossing. I think the forecast is like 6 to 7 footers at 12 to 13 seconds, and so it's gonna be a little bit of a sporty one, but stick around, stay tuned. I'm gonna take you with me and show you just how it's gonna be. I'll show you the two boats we're crossing with. It's a big, I think 52 and 53 Riviera, and then an old Chris Craft that's been restored, so really pretty boats. I'll show you the boats. Yeah, come on. Let's get a very rough crossing in today. Go time. Woof, it's go time. We were just waiting on the big Riviera to fill up. They're filled up. That's them up there. That's my buddy's Chris Craft. And that Riviera is the biggest and has the highest weight and quality equipment and everything. And so they're gonna lead the wave, break the waves down a little bit for the Chris Craft, who's then gonna break the waves down a little bit more for me, to make it as calm as possible on a day when the forecast is 6 to 7 footers. And I'm in a 34-foot center console, but woof, we're gonna make it work. I'm all ready. I got my bib on, got my rain jacket, I have my curtains up, because it is gonna be a windy and wavy one, but we're all the way back on South Fork and Stuart now, so it's going to be about 15-20 minutes before we get to the ocean. So we're going to go ahead and run out, and I will keep you guys updated. Should be a phenomenal day. I'm pumped. Gonna get wet, but I'm pumped.
You're about to see me put on my inflatable life jacket, and that is something that I always wear with me when I cross these boats alone, when I'm the only one on the boat. It's just a safety precaution that I take. You know, if anything were to happen, if I get ejected from the boat, it sinks, flips, God forbid, and nobody else is on the boat to help me, that inflatable life jacket could absolutely save my life. You know, I'm not always gonna have time to go down into the hatches and grab a bag of the orange life vests. And so I don't necessarily do it when I'm crossing with a bunch of other people, but when I'm alone on the boat, I always wear that life jacket. That is something that I recommend all of you guys do if you start getting into doing things like I'm doing here. You can never be too safe when your life is at stake. And something else that I'm doing here that is another safety related thing that I do is I am starting the tracking on my Garmin InReach and sending that tracking link to my parents, my uncle, and my wife. That way they can track me for the entire trip. They know exactly where I am at any given point in time. I can text them from this thing, and it's just an added layer of safety so that they know where I am. They know that I'm making progress, and if something were to happen, they do have a general location of where to search for me. So, and anyone who even goes out in the ocean in any boat, I highly recommend getting a Garmin InReach or a Spot or, you know, some PLB that's similar.
At least the intercoastal is beautiful, nice and calm, and we have a gorgeous sunrise. Just look at this. Whew. Couldn't ask for a better morning. Let's hope that it's not too much different offshore. We'll find out. All right, we're approaching the inlet here. I got my tow up there, and then the Riviera is over there. We're gonna break the waves for us. Woof. Here we go. I'll be offshore in about 3 minutes. I'll film us getting out of the inlet to give you all an idea how rough it is, and then I'll keep you updated along the way. I think it's about to be a little dicey, although it is really nice up in here, so hopefully it's just a swell, but we'll find out. Oh my God, it is absolutely blowing. Sorry, not blowing, ripping. You can see the swell breaking over the rocks over there. Woo, it's gonna be a sporty one. looking past the swell, it actually doesn't look that bad at all. Hopefully we can get past this little inlet swell. Woo. And what this is just a big swell surge because all this water is coming into a tiny, tiny inlet, you know, with this, you know, Stuart inlet here. Once we get a little bit far from the inlet, this should all even out, but as of right now, this is fine because, you know, it's a swell, yeah, but there's no chop at all on top of the swell, so we should be able to make some really, really good timing. I am pumped!
The camera has a way of flattening out any height, so it's hard for you guys to get an idea of exactly how steep and how big these waves are, but you can get a little bit of idea of watching how much the bow is getting thrown up and down. It's not anything too bad. It's not like there's a heavy chop. It's just a big swell that, you know, is making it a little bit uncomfortable. It's hard to see in the video, but as we get further out, there were times where I was completely losing the boats ahead of me behind a big old swell. So it was every bit of, you know, 6 to 7 this day, but we made it happen. And this SEAVEE is an absolute beast, and so this is nothing that this boat can't take.
All right, as you saw getting out the inlet there, it is definitely a little sporty out, but honestly not as bad as I thought. It's, you know, it's a big swell. This is all of 7 to 8 foot swell. I mean, it's throwing the boat around pretty well, but there's not very windy, so there's no chop on it at all. So it's literally just riding the swell up and down, pretty straightforward. We got the Chris Craft there, Riviera in front of it. So, I mean, if it stays like this, we should be A-okay. Let's hope we can just get across the Gulf Stream. That's gonna be our biggest effort. Once we're across the Gulf Stream, it should be pretty freaking easy. That's our biggest hurdle, I guess, but as of now, it doesn't look like it's gonna be all that bad. A little uncomfortable, but not gonna get beat up too much. All right, I think I might have spoke too soon about it not being that bad. Woof, it's pretty confused out here. Luckily, I mean, it's doable, but it's dicey, and this boat is taking, I mean, not taking waves over the bow, but taking quite a bit of spray, but we're making it. You can see how wet everything is. You can see we're down to like 12, 13 knots right now. It seems like all the boats are comfortable at this speed. We're all talking over the VHF. Everyone's comfortable. Everyone still wants to keep sending it. Again, all we got to really make is like, oh, I don't know, 30, 35 miles till we get across the Gulf Stream, and then 50 miles till we're on the bank. Those are kind of our two little, woo, oh boy. Those are kind of our two little landmarks, oh, I guess, points of, you know, progress. And so I'll keep y'all updated as we approach that first one and get across the Gulf Stream. Let me give you a quick view of the kind of a swell and chop we're talking about. So that's what we're dealing with for probably the next, oh, I don't know, 12 knots, probably 4 hours. But like I said, no, I don't feel unsafe, so we're all good. If I were to feel unsafe, it'd be a different story, but I've been in worse than this. I've done it in worse conditions than this. You know, it could be this blowing 25 on top. Thank God it's not, but we're chugging along, and the camera has a way of flattening things out, so it's a little bigger than it seems like to y'all, but we're making it. And something real quick I want to talk about is boat trim. I made a whole video on how to trim your boat before. I'll link that video above here. But this is a situation and where those rules kind of go out the window and you just have to feel it and play it by hand. You know, I'm going 13 knots. I'm really not up on plane and running. And when we have this steep swell like this that's fairly close together, this is probably, I don't know, a 10-second period with 7-foot waves. You know, on that, the last thing I want to do is come off a wave and have my bow go down into the next wave. and spear the wave and flood the boat, potentially flip the boat, which would lead to a disastrous scenario. And this, you know, technically I'm going kind of into the wave somewhat at a quarter, but I have, so even though I'm going into the waves, I have my trim up a lead just a little bit, just to keep that bow up, to keep it from going down into a wave. And so that's something that, in that video I linked, those rules don't necessarily apply here. This is a situation where you really do just have to feel it out, and figure out what's working, figure out what's keeping the bow up, assess the period, assess the waves. There is no, you know, equation for how to properly run in these conditions. This is 100% a feel it out and experience. Nothing else can make you do this safely but experience. You know, on a day like today, if I was not experienced with doing these crossings in rough water, no shot I would ever do this. But I feel comfortable with my skill level. I have a lot of experience. I've done this many times. And so, here we are. Well, let me focus on driving because it's getting a little sporty. Quick note, as we get further and further away from Stuart, from land, from the inlet, the swell does seem to be spacing out a little bit nicer. You know, I'm sitting at 15 knots right now and I'm actually pretty comfortable. There's a lot of up and down, but it's not bad at all. But first, let me tell you, this boat, it's a 2007 SEAVEE 340B that's been completely rebuilt from the stringers up. Holy dang. Well, let me tell you, this boat is an absolute beast. And out in this slop, there's not one rattle, not one creak, not one sound I wouldn't expect. I haven't slammed down one single time. Yeah, we're, you know, coming off waves. Every single landing is rough. I mean, it is soft as you could ask on a 34-foot boat. Man, there is a reason the 340B is one of my all-time favorite boats and absolutely my favorite boat in that low to mid 30-foot class. But getting out on it in this stuff really highlights why. This thing is an absolute beast. Anyone in the market for something like this, in a boat in this range, you need a SEAVEE 340B. I am a broker, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to find one for you and sell it to you, but it's an absolute beast. A big old Viking came out to play and they don't even look fazed by this receipt. What I would give to be in one of those bad boys right now. All right, we're about an hour into the trip now. I'd say we're averaging somewhere between 15 to 16 knots. So I've probably gone 15 to 16 nautical miles, something like that. But woof, let me tell you, morale is at an all-time high. Even though it's rough as hell out here, I'm on a beautiful boat out on the open ocean, blue skies. It's really not blowing that much. I live a damn good life and I am very grateful that God gave this life to me. Woo! It is a good day today. Let's go! I also want to note that as we've gotten further, it's definitely calmed down a little bit. There's still a really big swell, but they're spaced out super nice. If I really wanted to, I could probably cruise 20 to 25 knots. We're not, because the boats ahead of me are a little bit slower. You know, center consoles can kind of glide their way through the waves a little better, but all in all, not a bad day at all. Just messing around, keeping myself occupied, you know, to pass the time. I'm putting the radar in burn mode, and there is a big old flock of birds about 6 miles off my port side. Right there. Because of the up and down, it's hard for me to stabilize it, but that's a big old pack of birds. I guarantee you this time of year it's holding some tuna under it. Just wish I was able to fish them right now. Well, we're just past 2 hours and I think I found my first problem. For a second there I lost all steering. At this boat has hydraulic steering and the steering just went tight. I couldn't turn the wheel at all. And the past owner told me that, you know, when this boat is being run for, you know, hours and hours straight, that hydraulic fluid will get really hot and make it really hard to turn. So I think that's what happened. Right now I'm currently just using the autopilot to steer because that's working just fine. But it's always a little bit nerve-wracking when you're, you know, not on the bank yet. We're past the Gulf Stream, but in the Atlantic, and your steering is questionable. But I'm hoping it's just the hydraulic fluid that's heated up. Once we get to Grand, where I'm clearing customs, I'm gonna shut everything off, let it cool down a little bit, and then I'll assess things then. But fingers crossed. All right, we're just past probably 3-ish hours out. We left, you know, cleared the inlet around 8:15. It's now 11:15, 11:30. We made it on the bank. Woo. It feels so good to be in Bahamian waters. The bank is still pretty rough, but we're gonna put up with it and head to Grand to clear customs. I got like 20 dolphins jumping clean out of the air behind me. I got like 20 dolphins jumping clean out of the air behind the boat. The rest of the people I'm crossing with are staying at Grand, but because I have to continue on to Treasure after clearing customs, I went ahead and broke free from the group to make a little bit of better timing. Look at these boats though, they are gorgeous. Beautiful crisscross, beautiful Riviera. Let me tell you, I know the Riviera doesn't get, you know, have quite the pedigree of a Viking or something. They're still very good boats. That is not as hardcore of a fishing boat as, you know, the Viking and the custom boats and the Hatteras as XYZ. Well, let me tell you, that is one good looking boat running through the water. I see land for the first time. I don't know if y'all can see it, but that's Walker's Key over there. Woo, famous island that's in the midst of getting rebuilt. Feels good to be in the Bahamas. Let's go. All right, here's a little bit better of a look at Walker's as I pass by. And then this island straight ahead is Grand. That's Grand. We made it after, oh my God, we left the inlet at 8. It is 1:40. I'll probably be at the dock at 2. 6 hours from the St. Lucie / Stuart inlet to Grand. That is a long freaking time to go, 90 miles or whatever it is. See you, buddy! We made it to Grand. Just pulled in. I went ahead and cleared customs first without, you know, recording, just because I wanted to get that over with and get on my way to Treasure. But we made it here to Grand. Woo. There's the old Flanagan's boat, the one I came over with. And it is actually a stunning freaking day over here. It feels really good to be in the Bahamas. What time is it? It's 2:51 right now. About to get out and start going fast again to make my way down to Treasure. So 2:51, you know, I'll be going fast by 3. And we'll see how long it takes me to get to Treasure. I'm hoping not too long because I got to unload a bunch of crap off this boat and then also deliver it to its new owner over on Guana and then get back to Treasure. So I got to figure all that out somehow, but I'll figure it out.
Heading out of Grand here to start making my way south to the Abacos. Just something real quick to note, if any of y'all ever start doing trips like this and going from Grand or Walkers down that way, is once you leave Grand and you make that left turn to start heading south, there are a couple sandbars and coral heads that you kind of have to zigzag your way through until you get to an area where you can basically just book it, 20 miles in a straight line to Crab Key and to Spanish. It's pretty well charted, so follow your charts and then, read the water. But something to note, be careful. In these parts, it's pretty easy to run your boat aground with all the sandbars, but keep that in mind.
Let me tell you, it feels freaking amazing to be running the Sea of Abaco again. Woo, I missed it, but we're back. I love my life. And when you're running the Bahamas, the bank is what they call the shallow area that the islands sit on. When you're running the bank, something that you really have to be careful for is that there are sandbars everywhere. Like, look. And a lot of the major sandbars, they're fairly well marked, and so you know the general vicinity, but they do move around depending on the conditions, the waves, whatever it might be. So you cannot rely on your charts around here. You have to know how to read the Bahamian water, which is pretty difficult for someone who never had to navigate in water this clear. There are times where you feel like you're in 3 feet of water because of how clear it is and how much of the bottom you can see, when in reality you're cruising along in 10 feet of water. It takes a little bit of practice. Maybe I'll make a little video on exactly how to read the water over here. Let me know if y'all want to see that, but you have to be careful or you will run aground over here. Because we have a southeast wind running from Grand down to Treasure, once I get close to Great Abaco, the entire way is completely protected for me. And so the ocean is laying down not the Sea of Abaco, not the ocean, but laying down so nicely for me. Look how nice this is. Woo. I think I've told y'all a million times, but I love the Bahamas. I love boats. I love boating in the Bahamas. I'm very blessed to live a life that allows me to do all of those things. Days like this make everything else worth it. I finally made it down to the Abacos. It feels nice to be back. Nice to be back to the second home. Running along the rock here. Coming around Spanish, literally you follow Great Abaco all the way down until you hit the Treasure Cay beach. Go around the point to the backside to the marina. It's that easy. After how rough it was this morning, I'm glad. I think I deserve this calmness now. I'm told that getting around the point, in between the point and Whale Key, is extremely rough right now. So that's not going to be fun, but gotta do it. I'm in an awesome boat to do it in, so we're gonna get it done. And something that I want to mention while it's on my mind is this SEAVEE 340B. I mentioned it earlier in this video, but these 340Bs are insanely awesome boats. Today I threw a lot at this boat, and it just took everything in stride without blinking, never missed a step, nothing. I mean, I run a lot of boats. It's what I do for a living. I sell boats, I run boats. And I honestly believe the 340B, not the Z, the 340B is the best riding center console in that lower to mid 30-foot class. And it runs like a much bigger boat in the swap. If anyone's in that market, I don't know why you buy anything else if you want to fish and do the things that this boat is laid out to do. The 340B is an awesome boat. Passing Green Turtle right now. And that's Treasure Cay out there. All right, I'm passing No Name right now, heading to the point to go in between the point and Whale Cay to go around it to the backside of Treasure to get into the marina. I'm told by several friends who are over here right now that Whale Cay is absolutely ripping right now with white caps and a big old swell coming through. So I'm gonna put the old head cam on so y'all can see exactly what we're dealing with going by Whale.
Getting around the Treasure Cay point, in between that point and Whale Cay, was very dicey. There was white caps all around me, straight up rolling waves, to the point where basically I was looking for a gap between two rolling waves and then just sending it between the two, making sure that the one on my port side doesn't catch me and I also don't run over the one on my starboard side. And you can see here me running between the two, you know, and with a giant rolling wave on my left. This was quite sketchy, but I'm in a great boat to do it in. Making it through those white caps was quite the ordeal, and obviously my senses were very heightened, as you know, I'm a little bit stressed getting through it all, but it was honestly pretty fun being able to run through them all and kind of find the gap, and it tests my skill as a captain, and I like being tested. I like being able to, you know, prove to myself that, yeah, my skill is as good as I think it is. And so felt good, but I'm around the point, the notorious Whale Cay passage, which can get notoriously rough, and now can finally head onward to Treasure and take a break.
Oh my God. Holy damn, that was rough getting around Whale Cay. They weren't lying. I mean, they were white caps. I was literally driving between breaking waves. That was wild. All right, coming in the shortcut of Treasure, I'm gonna film it and show y'all how it's done with the head cam.
And so I've mentioned this before in pretty much every single Treasure Cay video I've made when I'm running through the shortcut, but if you don't know what you're doing and you are not familiar with this water, please use caution when running this shortcut. It can get a little bit tight at times and a little bit shallow, and I do not want to be responsible for telling any of y'all to go run this thing when you run aground or hit your motor or anything like that. And so if you don't know it, if you don't know the area, just do yourself a favor and stay in the regular channel. But the shortcut is really fun to run. It's, you know, a little bit windy, makes you feel a little sporty. And yeah, it's a fun little, you know, shortcut.
We made it to Treasure and it feels so good to be back.